Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for the Women of Prince George's Pivot Your Business seminar. My name is Stephanie Bolton James, and I am the founder of the Women of Prince George's. And we are celebrating 10 years this year, which we're super excited about. Yes, yes, yes. However, we've had to pivot as well because with everything that's going on, our seminar that we had planned, we've had to shift to 2021, which so many of us are doing. And we are holding 4 webinars coming up here over the next 5 months to keep you informed and make sure that you are aware of the resources you have to assist your business through this COVID-19 experience. I hope and trust that you are all doing well, that your families are doing well, and we want to move forward through this and look at what do we do to make sure that our businesses, small businesses, and professionally that we are ready to move forward successfully through this experience. And we have a panel today of experts that can assist us with that. And the first panelist that we have today is Miss Sharon Pender. Now, Sharon is a longtime friend of the Women of Prince George's. Sharon is the president of the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council. This organization has been around for a long time and is tried and true in assisting minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. And she's going to share with us today some strategies and resources that we can put together to make sure that we move forward in a successful path. So I want to thank you for joining us this morning, Sharon.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Certainly appreciate it. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and congratulations for 10 years survival. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Well, Sharon, can you tell us a little bit? I know about your organization because I guess maybe about 20 years ago, my dad was the director of minority business development with Department of Commerce.
Oh,
And when we first started our business, which is an event management family business, Kim Bolton and Associates, he moved to Houston and he used to remind me monthly that I needed to be a member of your organization. And he
ah,
talked about all the great things that you all were doing in the community. So, for those that don't know, can you tell us a little bit about your organization?
absolutely. My pleasure to do so. As you said, the organization was started at about 48 years ago. Now, I haven't been with the organization for 48 years, just 5. But the premise of it is that it was created on the heels of the civil rights unrest in the late 60s. And it was actually created by executive order of Richard Nixon. And the purpose was to hold the private sector accountable for its minority business spend. Before that, and what you continue to hear about is, of course, the regulations and the policies around government spending. But this was an effort to hold accountable the Fortune 500 types private sector organizations. And so here we are 47 years later, and what we do is the advocacy piece. We help to build capacity. We are the nation's premier certification body for minority businesses. Our certification is national in scope. We're independent 501(c)(3s. I have 22 other colleagues across the country, and we're affiliate councils of the national organization, which is located in New York. My territory is the state of Maryland, the District of Columbia, and Northern Virginia down to Fredericksburg. And so, again, the premier certification body, but we also have, Stephanie, when I came on board about 5 years ago, we competed for and won 2 MBDA grants to operate from the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency. We operate the MBDA Center of Washington, D.C., and then we also operate the Federal Procurement Center, which is the only one of its kind in the country funded by the federal government. And so those assets, in terms of the resources that we provide as consultants, as advocates, as those who help build capacity, our goal is to provide opportunities for competitively viable minority businesses.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. And so tell me a little bit again. I heard you say certifications. What
Mhm.
are some of the certifications that you all offer through your organization?
It's one certification. If you're certified by us, it's the National Minority Supply Development Council certification. And that basically certification, and they're all different kinds, because you hear about the federal one was 8A, you hear about the local jurisdictional one,
Right.
whether, um, but certification is a license to hunt. And what we
Right.
provide in terms of our certification, our fertile ground is the private sector. So you look, we're a member-driven organization. So you look at our members, for example, we have
Mhm.
largest government contractors in the world as members, and you talk about BAE, Northrop, Lockheed, Leidos, and those, but we also have the hospitality industry through Sodexo and Hilton and Marriott. And we have, and the way that our business model is, those that are headquartered in our region. So whether it's AARP, Exelon through PepCo and BGE, I mean, you go to our website, those organizations, but because we sit at the biggest seat of government, we also have integrated in our portfolio federal, state, and local governments as well.
Okay. Okay. Very good. So I guess in terms of if a business is looking to, I guess part of their strategy right now to beef up their certifications, maybe to solidify a tighter position. I mean, because with those certifications, it obviously gives you more credibility, like you said, in a license to hunt. Although I think we also have to keep in mind that with this license to hunt, doesn't mean that things are just going to fall into your lap, that you still have to do the research, but at the same time, if you're a small business and maybe you don't have any designation certification, this is something that you might want to consider.
Right. And it's really interesting because if you think of us as women, right, we're nurturers. So if you think about organization as a nurturing organization to provide, because what has, and the women on this call I know can attest to this, what we want is the door to open for us, right? We're not telling people to give us any favors. We come very talented
Mhm.
and secure about what we do. We just need the opportunity. So as nurturers, we then provide that opportunity for you to meet those organizations. And so, as you're right, business practices still prevail in terms of how you do it, but business is about relationships and turning those relationships into revenue. And so, how do you build relationships? Because sometimes we don't come to the table with those relationships. And
Right.
so, as nurturers, we provide the opportunity for you to build the relationships.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. That's good to know. Very good to know. So what have you seen so far, I guess, during this experience, how maybe one of the members has used their relationship in your organization to help strengthen their business, or a relationship that has moved them in a direction to try to attain what it is they're trying to attain? Do you have maybe an example in mind of how that's worked during this time period?
Let me see if I understand what you're saying, Stephanie. You said examples of how during this pandemic time that
Mhm,
our businesses have leveraged
mhm.
the experience as a part of their journey to do something different, or are you talking about pivoting at that point? Is
Yes,
that what?
and
Um,
to be creative.
yeah, I think that entrepreneurs, day in day, they are they're wealth creation. They create jobs, but they are visionaries and creative beings, right? And
Hmm.
so we've seen where, and I hesitate to be too specific because at the end of the day, part of this is what people are doing and it's proprietary in nature, right? But I can give you examples of people who, let me start with this example. Across the country, we heard PPE. I
Yeah.
never heard, and I'm sure the good doctor has, but I never had gotten into PPE until I couldn't get one, right? And so across the country,
Right.
people have been, I want to be that PPE provider. But the problem is, if you haven't been in that business before, it's kind of hard to step in it right now. And we've seen where a couple of fail points, but at the same time, to your point, people who have the infrastructure to do manufacturing, let's say,
Right.
and the wherewithal to understand how to do business, let's say, with the federal government, could easily pivot into that. We've also seen where businesses say that I provide a service to this particular industry. What I have not done is provided, let's say, to the federal government. How can I pivot in order to do that? And we help them with that because in order to do business with the federal government, there are certain things that happen. I know we don't have time to get into that because that's a lecture all in itself in terms
Right,
of
exactly.
you gotta be in SAM. But in this particular case, I'll say this much. In this particular case, what people don't know, not only you have to be in SAM so the government can pay you, but during this disaster time, you have to be in the disaster registry within SAM. And those are the kinds of things that we kind of help people with, right? And
Right.
so, as we've seen through, and this pandemic is different than any other, usually a disaster because it's global, it's across the board, it's across the country all at the same time. And so what we also have seen is that we have banded resources together. And in our cases, when our people are looking, for example, for PPE opportunities, we're able not to only give them those opportunities in this particular region, but across the country as well. And so we've seen that. And we've just seen where, again, people want to expand their base of business or they are shut down and want to figure out what else they can do. So herein lies the opportunity as well, because people are looking for survival at this particular point in time.
And that's important. Those things you just said, expansion, looking at potentially reaching out and doing business with the federal government, assisting with those types of things. It sounds simple, but as you and I know, you definitely have to have a structure and a strategy, especially when you're reaching out to the federal government.
Right.
So
And the Yeah, and the other thing that I know that we have done as an organization, we're a nonprofit. And so we've had to go into immediate telework mode, right? And so
mhm,
that is not something that we had traditionally done as a overall enterprise-wide strategy. And so we had to engage that kind of piece. And what many our businesses have had to do is not only engage a telework and I know you're going to talk about like reopening or reestablishing, reentering, but not only look at that, but looking at what they then had to do with their employees. And that's the biggest pivot I think that people had to endure or
right.
take on and examine the employee
I
piece.
I agree. I agree. Tell us a little bit about some of the webinars and sessions that you guys are currently offering.
Oh, thank you for asking. We went into strict pandemic mode, survival mode, for our corporate members and our minority businesses, right? And so we started offering webinars around, how to operate with the federal government within this pandemic, for example. As I was just sharing, people needed to understand what, when the president declared an emergency, how that impacted, the secretary of HSS engaged FEMA. FEMA then pushed it down to the local FEMAs. The governors got involved. What that meant for businesses wanting to do business, and the Corps of Engineers, all of that. So we had a webinar specifically around what happens in a disaster, so people can understand, you know, um, all the, we didn't get so much into FARs and staff and all that kind of stuff, but answering the question, where's the money? How can I do business?
Hmm.
So we had several webinars around that. We also have focused in on the private sector. We had a session of corporate procurement, CPOs, chief procurement officers, and looking at organization that's not government and how they are pivoting at this particular point in time, how those things are impacting. We also have a newsletter we call Hot Sheet. And in that newsletter, we're giving tidbits of information about things that are happening. For example, the whole thing with PPE and idle loans with the SBA, what that all means, how you take advantage of it if you were left out, what are those things that you can do? What is a CDFI, for example, in the second round, where you can go to look for money locally. And our last newsletter just came out on Friday, talked about what monies are available in the particular counties, whether it's Prince George's, Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Fairfax, or whatever. What other monies are in DC? What other monies are available at this particular point in time as well?
Okay. And I think that's important because I know I've received many phone calls regarding the whole PPE process. And then when PPE didn't exist anymore, and then there was additional funding that came in for PPE. And then, questions about, like you said, at the local level, what are some of the opportunities that are available? So it's good for people to have multiple options.
Mm-hmm.
On what it is that you're looking to secure. Some businesses might just need money. They might only have a couple of employees, but they still need money to operate.
Yeah.
So that also has become a question, based on what their need is, which one should they target? Which one should they apply for?
Mm-hmm.
So I,
and it's learn. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
no, you're
but
fine.
it's that, and it's learning as we go, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as an organization, we apply for PPE. I didn't know until the other day. I now have to apply. There's another application process to ensure that my grant is a loan, right? Because I was asking the question, okay, we got the grant. So, and we're going to make sure that it's done by June 30th and what the parameters are. And things sometimes change every day because we had to then wait. I know Maria knows this. We then had to wait for Treasury to talk to SBA in order to get the application to get the forgiveness, right?
Right.
And so, so things kind of happen in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so as fast as we can get the information, we're trying to push out that information as well. But you also have to get through the noise to make sure from a business perspective that we're giving valid information and information that makes, I don't know about you, but I'm zoomed out, right? And so
Right. Everyone says that they are zoomed out.
I am zooming out of my mind. But but the fascination around that is that we have quickly pivoted, right?
Yes, we have.
And
Yes, we have.
I don't think I'm gonna have another staff meeting without seeing their faces right on Zoom. So leveraging technology, leveraging what's happening. I say C plus C equals O. Chaos and confusion equal opportunity. This pandemic has presented opportunities for us to look at life a little different.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And there have been some horrific losses.
Mm,
Definitely, people are bouncing back from that. But I think if you look at what we're learning,
oh,
um,
yes.
that is a very good point in terms of how we were doing business and a more efficient way of doing business and communicating and working. This has definitely been a chance for us to really look and evaluate that and see how to move forward in the best light. So that is all good information. I like that C plus C equals O. I'm going to have to borrow that.
No, just you're just fine.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Sharon. And please do
Yeah.
hang out with us a little bit longer because we are going to take some questions at the end. I do see some questions coming in. Okay.
Perfect. Thank
Very
you
good.
so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. And next we are going to talk to Tan Hallam. Tam Tan is a nurse at Fort Washington Medical Center. She is on the front lines of COVID-19. And I would like to right this second thank you for everything that you and your team have done. I mean, my goodness, in terms of taking care of our community, taking care of our residents, doing exactly what is needed to make sure that we can move forward And also we want to stay informed. So what I wanted to chat with you a bit about today is exactly that, is, where do you see us right now? I mean, we all know that Prince George's County is a hotspot. And we have to make sure that we're following the guidelines of the scientists and the medical staff to make sure that our numbers do continue to drop. And, in terms of the traffic in the hospital, where do you see things? Do you see like they're leveling out a little bit? Do you feel like people are listening to the advice that we're being given? Oh, let me see if you're on. I'm sorry. Turn you on right quick.
She has to unmute herself.
Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Unmute your. Well, you have to unmute yourself. Let me see if I can send her a note.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, there we go. All right. Very good.
First of all, good morning, everyone. So interesting that you asked those questions. What is going on inside of the hospital? I think this is the biggest thing, because originally everyone came to the hospital, right, for everything. And especially in Fort Washington, as you know, which we are now Adventist Fort Washington Medical Center. The ED was used quite a bit, right, for your regular care, unfortunately, like primary care as well. Now it's like ghost town, okay? The ED, far as what we're seeing in the emergency department, the census is low. And what happens is, just as we've seen in the media, there's a dip and there's a curve. We'll go down, it'll go down just a little bit and things will calm down. And then all of a sudden the ramp goes right back up. And then there's just a huge influx of patients that are coming in that are ill. With that being said, as a provider, I do have two concerns with that. One, I'm concerned about now that we're saying don't come to the ED unless you're having symptoms, and you're really sick, and because we're trying to protect you and protect yourselves. What is happening now to my patients that were regular frequent flyers? Where are they? Right? Because they're not coming in. And as far as everyone following following the rules, I'm going to say that I've seen positive. First of all, I've seen positive. It's been nice. I've been out in the community, honestly. I've been in the Safeway. As you know, to Fort Washington, there's a lot of small businesses that are right there. And I've actually been right over there. And I have to say, they have been applying to those rules. I have seen the face masks and things. Now, how they're wearing them, I'm a little bit concerned. You know what I mean? I see the nose down, but I'm pretty good about that. I'm in the store, I'll be like, pull your mask up, you know what I mean? Or something like that. But again, right, that's education, right? We haven't done this before. So it's educating over and over again. Down to the gloves. I have to say that's probably my biggest one. It's better to wash your hands. It's better to use your sanitizer, to keep the gloves on, and you're steadily touching things. You're just keeping the bacteria and keeping the virus, everything on them. But everyone thinks it's protection. But then again, this is where you have to be sensitive. If I have a fear and I'm unsure, I just need to put whatever I need to protect myself and my family. So those are some of the things I'm seeing at this moment.
Okay, very good. Well, that's encouraging. I'm glad to hear your overall view there. And I would say, how is your staff doing? How are the ladies doing on your team in terms of their energy level? Are they able to, take a break and have time off and that type of thing, spend time with their families? How's the staff doing?
So glad that you're asked that. I would have to say, just like I just described to you, that roller coaster, right? One thing I want you to know about nurses and healthcare providers, this is the things that we're trained on every year. You know what I mean? We anticipate these things. And I would have to say, to grade my staff in reference to like a report card, when this first kicked off, I would have to say they were like an 8. You know what I mean? It was like we are being called. It is our duty. Let's get going. You know what I mean? Everybody get in place, ready, set, go, right? Ready to do. But then, as you know, that was the high. And then what happened was we started to see the patients come in, the influx, the keeping the mask on every day, being hot, being thirsty, seeing that this thing is real and how it's affecting patients. But then the turn was it affected our families, right? And our coworkers. So then it was like, this thing is really real, right? And so at that point, I would have to say their energy levels, everything fell down to maybe about a 3 or a 4, right? For the fear, the uncertainty. Like, where do we go from here? How much longer can we do this, right? I think they knew it was also a fear about the PPE, and just having to remind them, we've been doing PPE forever. Stop letting that media confuse you on PPE. We are the experts in PPE. Let's do this. You know what I mean? So having to put that back in them. And then I just think just about a week ago, as you know, we celebrated the 200 year of the nurse. And yes, of 200 years. And I would have to say that with administration as well as our community, this is where I think it warmed my heart more than anything. The community reached out and they gave to the nurses. We've had so many lunches. We've been provided meals and cupcakes and different things, but they got to see their appreciation, right? And for what they're doing, and that they truly were making a difference. So with that being said, I would have to say now we're climbing back up again, right? As far as the energy level and as far as our morale and what's going on. As far as time we have, whenever the numbers go down, we do encourage the nurses to take off.
Okay, good.
Okay,
good.
just so you know, when the numbers go down, we send people home early, what we call flexing time. And as well as we truly encourage them, like, you know what, we're going to be okay without you this week. We really will. So go home to your families and do what you need to do and then come back.
Very good. Very good. That's good to know. Okay. Now, I guess my next question has to do with it in terms of what our projected next big tackle item is. And it seems as though the next big tackle item in this particular category is mental health. How do we make sure that everyone is balancing these challenges? How do we at home on day-to-day basis make sure that we're balancing, just the financial burden, the business burden, the burden of, being put in the position of homeschool, and managing all of that and making sure that we're in a good position, because it is a lot. It definitely is a lot to have thrust on you at one time. What are some of the things that we can do at home to make sure that if you feel yourself kind of getting a little bit more snappy than you usually are, and you need to step away for a minute, what are some of the things that we can do at home to make sure that we check ourselves and make sure we're doing okay?
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked this, because I had to ask my own self these questions. You know what I mean? Even for my own self, for balance, we're in a world of just go, 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 right? And literally the world has just stopped. I think the first thing, of course, is you got to dig into whatever your inner faith may be. I always believe that your faith and what you believe in is what's going to bring you sort of that foundation that whatever you do and believe. And also at this time with the kids, everything being home, I really think this is an important time to have those conversations that we was not having, that we were passing each other by, about our health. Do you know what I mean? I'll be honest, even for me, I had to look at my husband and say, now you sure you don't have high blood pressure? Now I've been asking you this. You fight me about taking your blood pressure, but we need to talk about these things, right? Because what he's seeing on TV, especially for African Americans, is that all these comorbidities. So I think at this time, it's a good time to have those conversations, think about those things. But the great thing about this time is use it to recreate yourself. This is a
Good
time.
point. Good
Yeah,
point.
you can. You can recreate yourself. And what I mean about that is now you have the time to research it, investigate whatever you've been thinking about. And then at that part, you can plan. Can you believe we got time to plan something out? And then at that point, go ahead and try to execute it. Also, it wouldn't be fair with me being a provider is what's really going to be a big thing is you need a primary care provider. If you don't have one, you need to find you one, right? Because our new norm, or what we thought was the norm, we got to get used to our new norm. And that's going to be, right? People use the EDs for, to come in and just to get regular care done. And at this point, your relationship with your primary care provider and for your family is going to be huge. You're going to have to connect that, you know? Also, pay attention. Are you walking every day? Now you can tell. Are you sedentary? Do you not move? Get out and move a little bit more. Pay attention to what you're eating. You know what I mean? Now you're going to the grocery store. We're back to the days. Now we cooking. Wow, how amazing is that? Home cooked meals and conversation.
Right.
Yes, you know what I mean? All those things that we were just in this world as we do is just busy and we bypass. So it's definitely getting back to the basics, but truly, truly use the time, take a walk, fresh air, sit on those beautiful decks you built that you never get to sit
Right.
on. Yes,
Exactly.
go outside, talk to your neighbor. Are they sick? You know those things that we don't do anymore? We just drive in our driveways and kind of just wave and like, when did they move in? I don't know who that is. You know what I mean? But now it's so important as a community that we got to get to know each other once again because we're going to have to take care of one another and we're going to have to protect one another.
Very good. Very good. That is awesome, awesome advice. And I agree with you. I think, if you look at the grand scheme of things of this whole experience, it was time for the world to slow down.
Yes.
Not just our area, our community, but the entire world was just doing too much, as my oldest daughter says. And so we all needed to just kind of slow down a little bit. So very good. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us from your perspective, from the health perspective that you have learned during this experience that we should be aware of, that you would like to share?
Sure. I do want to leave you with that. As you were talking about pivoting and changing as a business, a hospital business is going to change. And I'm proud to say that what Venice Fort Washington Medical Center has done is that we've collaborated with the state. I don't know that you all that's in the area, if you drove by, we look a little bit different now. We were able to collaborate with the state to give us this extensive, very high-tech 16-bed ICU that is being built right now, as you will see on our campus, and will be opening within the next week or two. Also, I need you to know that we have put up 3 tents to be prepared for the surge as well, if it should happen here in our community. And I think this is huge, right? Because as a hospital, we had to think, I have a magnificent new president, and we had to think outside of the box, right? Fort Washington is a 37-bed hospital, but we have now, just with implementing these things, we're going to increase our bed supply to over 60 to be able to accommodate the changes that are happening here in our community. So with that, I just want to say, I think the biggest lesson learned is how to adapt, how to accept change, and just to discover and embrace our new norm. And when you go out now, it is going to be a little different, especially with your safety. When you go out now, your travels will be purposeful and they will be intentional because you will have to continue to be safe.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much, Tan. And if you could as well, stay on the line because we're going to take a few questions at the end. But I really appreciate that. Good stuff. Very, very good stuff. We definitely
Thank you.
appreciate you sharing with us and taking the time today.
Yes,
Our,
thank
our
you.
next, absolutely, absolutely. Now, our next speaker is Miss Miranda Jackson. When I think of Prince George's County, I see Miranda's face because as far as I have lived here 18 years, and as far as I've been connected with Prince George's County, I have been connected with her in some way, shape, or form. Miranda is the MBE compliance manager with Prince George's County Council, and she has been instrumental with small businesses in this county for a long time. So Miranda, I appreciate you letting us come into your Saturday and taking a few minutes to talk with us today. And I would like you to share, for those who don't know, what exactly is the MBE program?
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie, for those kind remarks. And I'd like to thank everybody that's on this call this morning. Basically, my role as the MBE compliance manager, I'm almost like the eyes and ears for the 11 Prince George's County Council members. I focus on the major development projects in the county. Whenever the county council provides financial assistance on any of the projects you see as you're driving along the roads here in Prince George's County, my role is to negotiate what we call a minority business enterprise plan, establish goals, monitor achievements, do training and outreach, and make sure that the business community is aware of the various contracting opportunities on these projects. We want our businesses and our residents to benefit from these major development projects here in the county. That's what I do, and that's what I continue to do. As a result of this pandemic, we still have projects that's moving forward. Many of them have slowed down. The biggest negative impact has been the closure of the MGM because they do a lot of work with our local businesses. And the mere fact that they are closed, then they're just, maintaining their facilities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a huge baby to be closed here in our community. Is the Gaylord is closed as well too, right?
Yes, the Gaylord is closed. We tend to do more work with MGM in terms of our local businesses.
Okay, very good. So it's good to know that those projects are moving forward from a small business aspect with some of the MBE certified projects. If someone is interested in becoming an MBE here in Maryland, what are a couple of the benefits of getting that certification?
Well, number one, in terms of the projects that I work on, it is a win-win because the major developers and the general contractors, they can only get credit for the dollars they spend with the MBE community as if the MBE is certified. So they are constantly looking for certified MBEs. In terms of the county procurements, they get all kinds of preferences if they are MBE certified. So it is definitely a win-win.
Okay, all right. Do you feel like a lot of the major companies target the MBE small businesses to do business with because it's kind of, I guess, somewhat vetted when you have that certification?
Yes, and you know what? I always tell MBEs, don't promote the fact that you're MBE, promote the fact that you do quality work. When you promote the fact that you are an MBE, once they've reached their goals, then they'll always say, we don't need it anymore. So promote the fact that you do quality work and, oh, I'm also MBE certified.
Okay, I got you.
And you know what, Stephanie, this is an ideal time for people in IT. I mean, now that moved, oh yeah, this is a perfect time for IT because people are doing what we're doing this morning. Many of the faith-based organizations, nonprofits, and smaller businesses, they're not equipped to operate remotely. So this is an ideal time for anybody in IT. It's also an ideal time, this is the election year. There's opportunities in terms of working with people running for office. They always need a website. They need printing materials. They need somebody to put up those signs. Take advantage of any advantage.
Mm-hmm. Very good. That's a good point. That's a very good point. What would you say in terms of small business creativity during this time period that you've heard of, where maybe there's a small business story that you've heard of or you're familiar with, where maybe they were in one position and they repositioned themselves and were able to be successful as a result of that, that is part of the MBE program?
Well, you know what? I don't want to call a name, but I did hear one of the businesses that I work with frequently say that now that her project, oh, she said her business had gone down about 90%. So what she's doing is she's doing loan packaging, in packaging. You know, there's a lot of businesses that are good with what they do, but they're not good in terms of, say, putting package together or paperwork. And she said that she's been successful in doing that.
Wow, very good. Now that's a way of
Mm-hmm.
being creative with what your strength is. I think also the tip you just gave, which was a huge tip, that this is a good time for IT, and it is because you know there are certifications that you have to get in order to show that you have the capacity to set up a home office and things like that. But at the same time, with everyone being thrown into it, they don't necessarily know how to do it in the most efficient way. I know for me, I've had to work with, and I'm sure some of you might have experienced this, with bandwidth for my webinars, for my Zoom meetings. And, you know, if you need to purchase an additional gadget from Staples to increase your bandwidth, you know, which one is it? You know, and
Oh,
what
yeah.
is what is it? What is it? A HDMI cord, and you know, all these different things.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think there's definitely, if you want to get creative, space for that. And then, you know, if you have one of these certifications, either through Minority Supplier Development Council or the MBE program, you know, you have these certifications. It certifies you as a vested business that has been vetted, and therefore people, I know that, you know, when I'm looking to do business, like you said, you want to do good work first, but once you qualify that they can do your work, then you want to know, okay, well, you know, what are they associated with? Because sometimes when you go out on Google and you're trying to secure different vendors for different projects, you need some sort of way to streamline your options that are out there. So that is a very good point. Very good point. Now, Miranda, are you working much with some of the financial opportunities that are available? Are you aware of some of the financial opportunities that are available in the county for our small business owners and our professionals?
Absolutely. I'm on the board of directors for the Financial Services Corporation, and the county also has what we call the Business Recovery Initiative, and that has been expanded until May 29th, and that's to help our businesses. The Financial Services Corporation will also provide financial assistance and financial counseling to the business community. We have a lot of resources here in the county for the local business community. We work in a collaborative effort to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the business community. We have the big center in Bowie. We have the EDC. They are constantly doing training for our businesses. We have the Women's Business Center. We have the Small Business Development Center. We have the PTAPs, that's the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. We have a whole list of organizations that are devoted to the business community. In addition to that, you know, we have 11 council members. They are constantly doing teleconferences and webinars. And now we do town hall meetings where they make sure the business community is aware of all the opportunities that we have here for the local business community. And they also do regular updates in terms of what's happening in terms of COVID-19.
That's true. I've been on those town hall meetings and they are very, very informative. Yes, I'm very appreciative of that. Very good, very good. Well, those are good resources, Miranda, and I would like to try to capture most of that and be able to have it on our website as well for Women of Prince George's, because we want to make sure, again, that if we have these wonderful programs in place, that our residents know what is available in terms of options for them here in the county as well. So I will circle. Yeah, no, I will circle back with you as well to get that information. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I wanted to say one more thing. You know,
Sure.
if they are residents of Prince George's County, make sure that they follow their council member, you know, in terms of the events they have, the teleconferences and the teletown hall meetings. That's one way to stay abreast on what's going on in the county.
Okay, very good. So that is one thing we should all be doing, and we should all be following our council member to make sure that we stay connected and up to date with some of the resources that are offered to us. So we will also get a list of some of those that Miranda mentioned as well, and make sure we have those connections available to you. Thank you very much, Miranda. I really do appreciate that, and I really do appreciate the information that you shared with us today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So next we're going to talk to Maria Sorochi. Maria, I hope I said that right. And we are going to, I guess, dive deeper into the entrepreneurship side of this conversation. Maria is the Chief Operating Officer with Alexandria Chamber of Commerce. And Maria, we appreciate you being with us this morning and being available for this conversation. And I know, and we all know, we've all been down to the Alexandria waterfront. And we know that all those businesses down there are definitely entrepreneurs. They are not part of a chain, they are family-owned businesses. And this time for them, I know, has to be a scary time. And Maria, what is the environment down at the waterfront right now? How are those business owners feeling at this time in terms of, you know, the shutdown, and their revenue is severely impacted by this shutdown? What is the feeling down there right now?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to participate today. We're definitely looking forward to renewing our partnership with all of you, and looking forward to really, you know, seeing how we can help each other out, because we are one big regional family. To your question, you know, obviously the waterfront, we're about to enter the height of tourist season for Alexandria. So it's definitely a trying and scary time for a lot of our businesses, because they are small businesses. But I have been so impressed by how well a lot of them have pivoted. You know, we've been talking a lot about pivoting on this call this morning, and they have gotten takeout, you know, going. We have changes to the Virginia ABC law that allows these businesses to sell cocktails to go, and all kinds of different things where they are pivoting, and they are doing the best they can with the environment and the rules that they have been presented with. And we're really lucky. We live in a great community. And so I think you will probably see on the news a lot that there's been a lot of coverage sort of on the waterfront, because there's been a lot of people out there. And a lot of those people, you know, were not standing around or just kind of hanging out. They were standing waiting to get food. So I think that speaks really well of our community, that we're trying to support our small businesses as best we can. I'm certainly getting as much takeout as possible, which is great. Then I don't have to cook, but it's really, you know, I feel like I'm doing a duty. So it's really a win-win all the way around. So yeah, I think it's really just about the community is really supportive, and they're being really quick and smart about how they're doing things. You know, we have restaurants that have partnered with retailers to do a like family game and dinner night, so you can get a whole package like that. We have, you know, Cinco de Mayo, they did margarita packages. You could send someone a margarita-gram that they would deliver. So, you know, fun and interesting and innovative things that they've been doing to try and make it through this.
Okay, very good. Well, that's good to know, because I know, you know, even, you know, here in Prince George's County as well, I know the Hyattsville area has a similar experience. The College Park area has a similar experience. So exchanging some of those creative ideas, like you said, for everybody as a region can only, you know, benefit our entire DMV region. And I would say, so the next question I have is from the aspect of small business loans, financial support, those types of things, are they seeing success in getting through applying and being awarded some of those opportunities?
Yes, we have. I know that just from what I've heard from some members of our board that I think just one member banker had gotten 36 different small businesses PPP loans. So, and that was just one that we happen to know of. I know there are a lot of other of our local banks and such that that have also been really successful. So that is definitely a really positive thing. I think what we have learned from this and what I've heard from a bunch of different folks is that, you know, just as Tan was saying, that you need to make sure you have a primary care physician, that this is a good time to really realize how important that relationship is. That what we have found is that what is really important for business owners is to have that banking relationship. We have seen that like that. I know that one of our commercial real estate members posted it, and I thought it was such a great way of saying that they said, if you can't walk into the bank and they know who you are and your name, let us know. We'll be happy to introduce you to some bankers who would be happy to have your business. So, you know, and that's something that we at the Chamber of Commerce are thinking about, is how can we make sure that our businesses do have that relationship and really can go in and do it, because you're seeing right now how important that was. Because if you could walk into that bank the day that PPE loan and everything went live, you had a much better chance of getting approved, because they knew who you are. They knew exactly that you were okay, you're awesome, we got you, we'll do it. So that's I think we're talking about lessons learned from this so far. I think that's been a really important one for our small businesses.
You know, and I have to agree with you there. I know a couple of our board members applied for the PPE, and they were having a conversation amongst themselves during one of our board meetings, and a couple of them were successful and a couple of them were still in motion. But they were saying the difference was that business owner that could walk in the bank without their ID, without anything, and they knew the staff on a first name basis, that person was approved faster than those who did not have that relationship. So that relationship really makes a business. Not that the rules don't apply. It's just that when you have the relationship, this is definitely an example of that. Just like Sharon was saying, you know, the relationship amongst members with her organization. It's about the relationship. And at the end of the day, no matter what your level, no matter what your business, no matter what you're doing, you have to remember these relationships are very, very important. Absolutely. So very good. Thank you for sharing that point as well. What are some of the things that the Chamber is doing? I know that you work with the Women's Committee at the Alexandria Chamber. What are some of the things that you guys are doing in your community to help support during this time period?
Sure. Well, we are very lucky that we have a very robust women's network that has just been growing and growing for the last 6 years. So, you know, as this was all happening, and we're, you know, that the first idea of like, okay, well, let's try to do a virtual event. What is a virtual event? We've never tried to do this. And it's, you know, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, and it just so happened that the first event that we had coming up on the calendar that would translate to a virtual event was for our women's network. It was a quarterly event that we do called Coffee and Connections, that really just provides, you know, women and men. There's always about 5 men who attend. To sort of come together for some quick hit networking, you know, meet each other, chit chat, get some coffee and pastries, and then we usually hear from a woman-owned business or an owner of a business. And so that was our first event, and it was no idea how it was going to work. And we had 86 people register, and it was supposed to be an hour. Yeah, it was amazing. And it was supposed to be an hour long, and it ended up being an hour and a half, because people were so happy to see everyone's face and be in that space and just get to talk and just get to do that networking. So in terms of what we've done going forward, we're trying to continue to do that, which is something that's really our wheelhouse, which is connecting people, bringing people together, providing those connections and introductions. So we've done that. We've continued to do that in the virtual space, but then we're also doing, Sharon hit it right on the head about trying to get the important information out to our members, what they need to be knowing about applying for these loans and the loan forgiveness. We've gotten attorneys, we have one coming up with accountants to talk about the PPP stuff. And now also, I think we're in the next couple of weeks, focusing to talking about what does safely reopening look like? How can we make it so that our businesses are prepared and consumers and customers can feel comfortable and safe going back to these businesses. So, a lot of what we're doing is, it's wait and see kind of, we're not planning too far in advance. We're trying to just listen and really hear and see what kinds of questions our members are asking, and then, harness those connections and relationships we have with members who are in the know, attorneys and accountants and, small business, all kinds of small business owners, to really then to come and share what they're seeing and what their knowledge is with the membership at large. So, we're trying to be as nimble as possible and as flexible to just kind of keep going and keep moving. So our first virtual event was April 9th. And since then, in about the month and a half, we've probably done close to a dozen events since then. We've gotten close to 500 attendees between those events, which some were on the calendar already as our traditional networking, and then others have been these educational webinars to help people. Another piece to that is that we're also trying to highlight some of our small businesses. So we did a virtual happy hour, but instead of it just being a virtual happy hour when we get together and have a drink, we did it with our local cidery here, and they talked about the cider making process and went through and did it as a cider tasting. So people could order the 4 ciders they were going to taste, in advance, have it delivered or picked up, and then they sat and participated with us and learned a whole lot about it. So it was a real
cool idea.
It was a really fun event that people enjoyed, but it was also a great opportunity for one of our businesses to really talk about who they are and what they're doing. So we're trying to, now as some of the, educational pieces are kind of slowing down, the PPP loan stuff is moving right along. We'll do more on the reopening, but we're really trying to focus on being able to highlight our businesses and what they're doing, so that hopefully that would lead to, more patrons, more customers for them.
Gotcha. And that's probably good on that mental health note too. I mean, what a nice thing to treat yourself to and participate in that type of tasting to kind of take your mind off of everything else, and then also supporting a business. So very good, very good. Well, I want to just ask you ladies one more question in closing, and then we'll take a couple of quick questions, and then I know you guys need to get on with your day. But I would like to say, and I'll start with you, Maria, in terms of, getting ready to reopen, as we get ready to get back out there, and you already mentioned a couple of things that you guys are doing. But do you have any, I guess, insight or words of advice for some of the small business owners, in the DMV? What are some of the things that they can do? Of course, they need to adhere to the sanitation and the guidelines and things like that. And you just gave a pretty awesome marketing idea that I hope everyone was listening to, because that was pretty good, sending out the product in advance and then having a tasting. But is there anything else you would just like to share, I guess, in the category of preparing for reopening?
Sure. So actually, Alexandria is getting ready to launch a new program put together by the Alexandria Health Department and Visit Alexandria, because obviously tourism is a big part of who we are in Alexandria, and it's called the Alex Promise Program, and it's going to be a program where businesses go through a certain process and checklist with the health department to show that they are, you know, really taking, doing all they can to sanitize, all they can to keep people safe and wear masks, and just really do everything they can do in accordance with what, you know, the CDC and health departments are thinking at the moment. And I'm sure it will change and evolve as this whole thing has changed and evolved. But then once they kind of go through that, they're going to get a sticker to put on their office or brick and mortar to show that they've completed this program. Yeah. So I thought it was really good. And I've heard from different businesses on the calls that I've been at as this is getting ready to launch, that Alexandria is one of the first, you know, cities or municipalities that is really doing something like this. And the whole idea is that it will promote consumer confidence, that you can know if you see that sticker. And I think personally it's a brilliant idea, because that, you know, that's where some people are, is that there's a level of fear because there's so much unknown about the virus and what's happening. And knowing that you can walk in and say, okay, well, I know that the health department, that they've met a strict list of criteria, that you can then feel comfortable, a little bit more comfortable right now. So I think, to me, I thought that just sounded like as great an idea as you could possibly have at this moment, because I think that for businesses, it's that confidence. That's what's going to get people. It's going to take a little bit of time, because people, you know, we've never experienced something like this before. I keep saying it's a once in 100-year event, and so whatever can be done to really promote that safely going out and opening, I think is going to be really important and really helpful to businesses.
I agree. And if you know, as you walk in that they have that sticker and they've gone through the checklist, it just eases your mind. Definitely. Shamika Price was going to be joining us as well from the Prince George's County Chamber. She had a last minute conflict and wasn't able to join us today, but we will take up this conversation with her next time. All righty. So Sharon, what about you? What do you think in terms of, as we ramp up for reopening, what could you provide, or what could you suggest that some of our businesses and even professionals do to get ready for that?
You know, I want to take a slightly, because I agree with everything Maria said in terms of, I know the governor has gone through, I sat on one task force where they looked at re-entering and the things that you can do, and some of that stuff is kind of documented. But I want to reflect on something Dr. Tan said, and that gets also back to the opportunity. A lot of us, a lot of businesses, and my focus, of course, is minority businesses, were caught flat-footed on this piece, right? And a lot of times what they did not have is a business continuity plan. And so as a result of it, I'm not sure what could have been done, because this is unlike anything that we've kind of experienced, right? But as we kind of move forward into the next phase of what we do, whatever that is, what's our plan B, right? And so as we look at restabilizing our businesses, but also keep in mind, how do we not get to this point again with the unexpected? You know, just kind of little things. And Dr. Tam, my daughter is a unregistered nurse, and my son-in-law is on the front line as well. And so I'm wearing her jewelry, so she's pivoting all the time. So
I like it. That's a nice plan B.
I know. So how do we, because at the end of the day, we have to take care of our families and take care of ourselves. What's our plan B? And that's kind of my advice. I come up with my own plan B, right? And so how do we do that?
I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like I need to pull out some pom-poms right now, because I did not have a plan B. And by day, I work in the hospitality industry and completely not ready. And so that is actually the title of our next webinar, is what is your plan B? What do you have in your arsenal that you can lean on if you're put in this situation again. So that is definitely something that we should all be thinking about. How about you, Dr. Tan? What do you think that we should be prepared to do as we get ready for reopening? Well, I think you have to take yourself off mute. Are you back? Let's see here. Not yet. Let's see here.
There we go. There we go.
There you go. Okay.
Anyway, technology. I think as we prepare actually for the reopening, I think the best thing to do is have a plan. As of now, as you have seen on the news, I think you should know where your testing centers are, right? So if you need to get there, I think you should know what CVS is in your area, right? That is doing and handing you the test and different things. I think that you need to go to the most important appointments that you need to get to. Okay. We've prepared for you out there in the clinic world now. Just as you were saying, we've ramped up and we had to think all outside of the box, but that does not mean you do not take care of yourself. Okay. So with that being said, you need not to be afraid of that. So make the plan now. What appointments are important? What do I need to take care of? Where can I go be tested? What can I do to continue to be safe? It's so important. It's even down to in your car. Do you have your mask inside of a plastic bag sitting there and ready? They have to be cleaned. You need to wash them and bring them out as part of your daily, as part of your purse or your backpack now, or whatever you're doing. And continue to educate your family, update, our teenagers. That's who I worry about the most. Right? Because we've taken their lives away for something normal. They're used to, you say social distance, they are social people. You know what I mean? And you've taken this away. So just think of new ways of just how to continue with life, and interact. And you're just going to have to continue to be safe. As I said earlier, you're now going to have to be purposeful as well as intentional as you continue to go out there.
All right. Very good. Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you. And Miranda, what do you have for us as we prepare to go back out into the world?
I'm one of these people that maintain no entity should make up more than 60% of your revenue. So I would take this time to identify new clients. I know most businesses look at the federal, state, and local governments, but look at the churches. The buying power for churches in this country is second only to the federal government. I would look at nonprofits. I would look at other businesses. I would look at doing business with each other. Also take this opportunity, if you're not already certified, become MBE certified and revisit your capability statement. I work with a lot of developers and general contractors, and they really look at and consider the capability statement because that's their introduction to you. They don't know you, okay? You're using that document to introduce you to people you don't know.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you, ladies. That is amazing information, and I appreciate you. I have a couple of quick questions here that people asked. One person, let's see, would like to know Sharon Pender's newsletter, the name of her newsletter. What is the name of it, Sharon?
It's let me see, I just wrote it down. It is Business Consortium Hot Sheets. You can go to our website, which is www.crmsdc.org, which stands for Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council, crmsdc.org, and all the issues that we've had so far is on there. And you can also get to our webinars as well.
Very good. Thank you. And then there's someone that would like to know, can Tan touch on if there's a time, our faith and mission at the hospital, we pray daily, that keeps us going throughout the day. That was another question. So I guess they want to know about, is there a program at the hospital called Faith and Mission?
Okay. Actually, what that is that since Fort Washington has now become Adventist Fort Washington Medical Center, we are now a culture faith-based organization. So I think probably what they're saying is how that has changed. And I heard her say about daily. So we pray every morning, even before daily huddles. It is, before the nurses and different things. And our biggest thing with the new mission is that we extend God's care through the ministry of physical, mental, and spiritual healing. So with this is how I guess we can go back to like Maria, when we were saying about the mental health. That's how we're addressing our mental health inside, within, as well as our morale.
Okay. All right. And then there was someone who said that they have hand sanitizer available if anybody needs that. So entrepreneurs, you go get them. Okay. Very good. So I will share that information. Ladies, I want to thank you again for your time. This was amazing. This was exactly the information that we were looking to share with our community. I hope that you all continue to stay safe. Definitely, I will share your information that you have shared with us today. But you guys continue to stay safe. I hope you get a chance to enjoy the weekend, get outside a little bit, take a little walk, and get a chance to unplug. Even though we are in a different space right now with COVID-19, I can still tell the difference between my weekend and weekday a little bit. So definitely try to enjoy your weekend. And again, I appreciate your time. For all of you that are watching, we do have 3 more webinars coming up. We have one on June 20th, and the name of that one is What is Your Plan B? Thank you, Sharon. And we are going to talk about how will you supplement your income, or how will you redirect your business if you're put in this position again? What is your strategy? Let's talk about that now. What is your strategy? Then we have another webinar that we're going to have on July the 25th. That's called The Power of the Pause. It's about taking a moment to pause and reflect on yourself. This is where you have permission to reflect on just you. And then we have another session on August the 29th, and it's called Look Better, Feel Better. And we have one of our image consultants that's gonna plug in with us, and she's gonna help direct us on looking better, because when you look better, you feel better. And then also by that time, we hope we'll be able to talk with our Convention and Visitors Bureau about a couple of local getaways where you can go, you can get away, you can get a break. And by that time in August, we hope that we'll be able to do some of those types of things within reason. Within reason. So those are the webinars that we have coming up. Feel free to check our website. And again, thank you so much for supporting the Women of Prince George's. Ladies, thank you again. And
Bye.
Thank you all. It was great to meet you. Please come visit us in Alexandria when all this is done. We can go to a real happy hour at some point.
Yeah. I used to live in Alexandria, so I'm with you.
Yeah, it's good. Awesome. All right, have a good day, guys. Stay safe.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Maybe.